I guess it's time that we get to one of the big main events here today. The Royal Rumble review, the Royal Rumble taking place in Saudi Arabia. There's obviously a time difference. Wasn't as bad as when the events are in the morning. I actually kind of started to enjoy the event in the afternoon. By the time the end was happening, it was dark here. Felt like nighttime. Let's talk about the Royal Rumble 2026 in Saudi Arabia.
Well, let's talk about the time controversy over there and try to figure, because obviously I did not watch this live, and thank God for, I would have gone on a rampage. You would have melted the snow, screaming at him, get to the fucking point. But what time did it actually start Eastern time in the United States? What was the official start time here in our domain?
2 p.m.
Okay, so that means that apparently they started it at 10 o'clock at night in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, the actual town it was in, because it was a 4-hour show and it ended at 2 o'clock in the morning. Have you ever heard of advertising an event you got in a stadium is supposed to draw tens of thousands of people and it doesn't start till 10 o'clock at night?
And I think you hit on a few things there that we're going to talk about. One, just how many people were there. And two, if they're starting it that late, what does it mean when you do the largest fireworks show in history at the end? How many people did you wake up? How many people thought the war had begun?
Well, but also, here's another thing that somebody said, and I was like, wow, that's true. It's got to be true. Now, somebody can tell me if it is, but it's got to be when you think about it. It's Saturday night, right? So we're all going, well, it's Saturday night, people off work Sunday or whatever. There's no reason for people to be off work on Sundays in Saudi Arabia. They said in Saudi Arabia, Sunday is a work day for many people. Brian, why in the United States, a place you're more familiar with, is most people don't work on Sunday?
I mean, that goes back a long way. That's because of church. It was church day.
They don't believe in the same fellow. So why would Sunday be a day off for them? Now, somebody said that on the interwebs, but maybe now we can get our well-versed in global geography and religiosity experts out there to go, is Sunday a big deal in Saudi Arabia?
Actually, we've heard from several listeners who are in Saudi Arabia, so we do have an audience who listens there, so we'll hear from someone.
So otherwise, they're keeping these people out till 2 o'clock in the morning, and then while people are just snoozing, even if they're not part of the festivities, they get the fireworks.
Again, we'll get there. That's the very end of the night. But no, we actually, I'm trying to pull it up now. The Cult of Cornette Facebook group, there was something written in by one of the Saudi Arabian listeners about just a miserable experience at the show trying to get water. Apparently water wasn't readily available for everyone.
Well, here's another. They built a stadium in a month to hold 25,000 people is what they said on the broadcast. So we'll go with that. 25,000. They built a stadium to hold 25,000 people from a parking lot in a month. Did they have time to put in the state-of-the-art concessions that the big arenas are used to? Oh, I'll go out and get the overpriced food and massive schlongy hot dogs and whatever the fuck. Or did they include that part? Or basically, here's a goddamn stand with a pitcher. Hold your cup out.
Well, Jim, I have a letter here. I'll read it. This is from Khaled F. Al-Bogami in Saudi Arabia. He's a member of the Cult of Cornette Facebook group. We've heard from him in the past.
I recognize his name.
Hi, Jim Cornette. You're going to think I'm exaggerating. I swear to God, I'm not. So I'm in Riyadh. I buy my ticket. I do the responsible adult thing. I show up early, like 5 p.m., because usually the show starts around 7 and wraps by midnight. I'm thinking, eat, grab water, catch the pre-show, vibe, then go home and sleep like a functioning member of society. Brother.
Brother!
They decided to start the show at 10 p.m.
It's okay.
Not 7, not 8, not 9, 10. In a country where Sunday is a work day for a lot of people. So the crowd looks like it's been drafted into a shift at a factory, and the main event hasn't even clocked in yet. And then the real main event began, finding water. There was basically a water shortage. And if you wanted a bottle, you had to stand in a line in front of a restaurant like you're rationing supplies in a 1970s documentary. I'm not even being poetic. I was literally thinking, so, this is how civilizations fall. The funniest part? They didn't use the established arena setup they usually use for WWE shows, nice dining areas, proper bathrooms, and most importantly, water in a desert country. Indeed, some genius said, you know what the fans want? Barracks in a parking lot in the financial district so the camera can look at the nice buildings. So there I am, a grown man, a paying customer, roaming a parking lot like a dehydrated extra from a post-apocalyptic movie, thinking, do I want a burger? No, I want water, damn it! By the time the show finally started, I was already drained. And here's the part that makes me sound like a quitter. I tapped out and went home. I left after the women's match. Not because I'm not a fan, but because I've got a transplant patient to look after the next day, and it's almost midnight, and I'm standing in a parking lot waiting for permission to hydrate. So yes, I left the Royal Rumble event early because I'm a doctor and I need sleep. Please clip that, frame it, and hang it in the Wrestling Observer Hall of Shame. If they ever do WrestleMania like that, I'm predicting an epic logistical disaster. Biblical proportions, like the Book of Exodus. But it's just me searching for a water bottle. Regards, from Khaled.
Oh my God. So that brings up they're going to do WrestleMania over there in like what, a little over a year? And I found out apparently it's been reported that the reason why they did it, the do-it-yourself stadium, was because they have 4 stadiums in that fucking town, and they all 4 had soccer games that day. Did you see this?
I did not see that. I'm not surprised. Again, the Kingdom, the Prince, Riyadh season, all of this, it's about spending endless amounts of money to get as much stuff there all the time. But I'm not surprised.
But I don't know whether the government was behind all of the soccer games, but on
absolutely, they're behind all of. Nothing happens over there without the government approving it.
But then what kind of stupid scheduling is that? Where they could certainly have figured out if we're going to spend however much it was for the Royal Rumble, because they get $50 million for just the normal shows, so $100 million, whatever the fuck. Put it in a regular stage. Just don't have the 3 soccer games going on that day. How are they all running this stuff against other stuff?
I bet the soccer players had water.
Well, but besides that, WrestleMania, they're used to being able to report a crowd of 50 or 60 or 70,000 or whatever, the big stadium, blah, blah, blah. Now, because they're getting paid, but are they going to give that, and here's a piss hole and a snowbank and a part-time or a temporary stadium, and people are lined up across the street to get a bottle of water? Well,
I got to think for WrestleMania, it has to be a bigger and better setup than this. I was surprised. We knew they were building a stadium from scratch. Stadium, if we're going to call it that. I didn't know about all the stadiums they have there being filled up, but even if you get past the idea that at times it looked empty, whether it was or wasn't, and we'll get into that, it didn't seem like that impressive a crowd. For a country paying all this money to TKO for the rights to have these events over there, it's a sold show. They buy the show. WWE is not getting any money off the gate or anything else. It's a sold show. For them to do it in front of 20,000 people, and it doesn't even look like it at times, and then you find out it's the middle of the night over there.
Against 4 soccer games.
It makes you, it's almost like I hate to bring politics into this, although he wasn't a politician yet. When WrestleMania was at Trump Plaza, the energy was lacking because Donald Trump and all the other high rollers were sitting ringside. They weren't wrestling fans. You had people just staring at the ring. You didn't have people reacting the way WWF fans at that time in 88 and 89 were reacting.
That was the biggest news coming out of those WrestleManias in the business and amongst people who followed the inside of the business was Jesus Christ. It was just a deathly pallor of an atmosphere.
And at times, the atmosphere for the Royal Rumble was questionable, and at other times, the fans were really into it. Now, it seemed to be about 99% male. I saw a couple young children who were girls. I don't know if I saw any adult women there. But I guess we should talk about it now. The question going around about, was it full? Was it empty? Were the reflectors on the seats causing people to think seats were empty because they were seeing that whitish, grayish pad? It seemed to me at times there were a lot of people not in seats. And then at other times it seemed full. And at other times the lights it seemed empty. So what are your thoughts on all this?
It's blowing my mind, man. They're there and then they're not, and there's people and I'm hitting and they're in my head, man. I was going to basically ask you the same thing. I was going to say, what's your impression of how many people were there? Because I stared and then I thought, and then I looked and looked back. And I at one point thought that they were auditioning or trying out some kind of new goddamn AI bullshit to fuck us up some kind of way so they didn't have to fucking have people in the building. All of those things that you said have some semblance of contribution to this. And the reason why we're going into this is because that was a big topic online and amongst fans watching. All the empty seats. Well, there aren't any empty seats. Well, there are. And optical illusions did come into play in some of this. It was a self-inflicted wound because the way they built the stadium and the seats, there is some odd round white dot. Would that be the way you would describe it? Just a round white dot?
I don't know how round. It looked almost like the corners may have been rounded, but almost rectangle or square.
See, goddamn, it's like one of these things. When you look at this, do you see a fucking green bullfrog or a goddamn orange kangaroo? It's insane. Early on in the show, there was a camera shot where I thought, wow, there's a bunch of empty seats. But then later on, when they shot that same section with different lighting, I could see there was people in it. There was an element of optical illusion with the reflector or whatever the fucking diagram was on those seats and the seating configuration, where it's like the lighting effect they had on a big show several months ago. We called out it draws your eye to that and you can't tell whether there's people in the seats. But then again, having said that, there were shots that I saw that it didn't look like there was anybody, but maybe they were all out roaming around trying to find water. There wasn't vast sections of empty seats, but it seemed like there were empty seats, viewable empty seats, visible in a number of places throughout the show. How many bathrooms if it was that much trouble to get a drink, how far do you have to go and how long do you have to wait to take a piss? And again, that's something in a temporary stadium. What the fuck? You can't have extensive plumbing done in that amount of time, even if you got slave labor working 24 hours a day and try to build a pyramid. It's just not possible, right?
And they had such an impressive stage. It may be the most impressive stage they've ever had for a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, well, see, they're used to putting those up and taking them down in several days. Big television productions, it's all portable, but not fucking plumbing and goddamn facilities.
And again, the way those pads, monitors, whatever you want to call them, it almost looked like they were mapping the room for like CGI, like to get rid of the crowd and put something else in its place. But there were definitely times where I was very consciously trying to look next to the pad, because the pad was not really bright, but bright enough that it, like you said, your eye went there. And sometimes next to it, you would see a dot. And sometimes there was clearly nothing there. You would almost think they were bringing in people by like the wave. Like, you know, all right, your turn, you in, now you're out, well, you in, you out. I don't know what would cause that, but there were definitely times where it looked packed and I saw people post photos. You know, look at how empty it is. And it's them shooting the fans behind them and it looks packed. And then I know what I saw. And there were other times where it was clearly an illusion or something caused by those pads that caused you not to see human beings.
And I know it's as a guy once said that was working out here, well, it's a tropical illusion. But you couldn't get a good grip on it as to, you know, but again, there could have been not major exoduses of, you know, like thousands of people in the same section, but lots of people roaming around trying to find food, water, and a fucking pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of. But it's still not, that crowd was not the level of what we have come to expect size-wise of one of these major events, but they grossed however many tens of millions of dollars more than if they'd had 70,000 people there in, you know, a major football stadium in this country, because this is the biggest county fair show Brian ever held. A sold show, a fair show. That's what we always wanted. All the territories, well, like Vern didn't and Vince, you know, Senior didn't, but the Southern territories and even out in Texas, you wanted fair shows where every time that the county fair came once a year in the summer or fall, the entertainment board for the county fair would line up the entertainment, whether it's fucking bands playing or fucking skydivers or whatever. Wrestling was a big deal, and we could plug it on television and get their people to go to their fair and a blah, blah, blah. And I've done fair shows for $1,200. I've done them for $10,000. And it didn't matter, because if you knew what you were getting, you just put enough people on a card and gave them enough that you could still make money. And that's what, OVW, we did that. In Smoky Mountain, we went and set up at fair board conventions early in the year when they were booking their talent, and boom. And this is just, how many more times is $50 million than $5,000?
See, this isn't the county fair. This is the state fair. It's a bigger deal.
Well, okay then. I never sold a state fair show, but I've worked on a couple. Crockett, I think, got $50,000 from the Indiana State Fair. Or what? No, was it the Ohio State? Nevertheless.
They didn't have any oil. That's the difference right there. So they couldn't necessarily give you a stupid amount of money.
But the point is, it's still the same thing. It's a bought show. And instead of working in a mud field followed by the what do they call it? The goddamn bungee jumping off of the fire truck lift immediately after the matches, they had fireworks.
Well, we'll get to those big fireworks at the end. So I guess in conclusion, on the question of if there were fans there or not, your answer is?
There was a lot of them. I don't think the place was jam-packed, but I think also there was somewhat of an optical illusion that led you. And then maybe as we find out that it started going on 2 a.m. in the morning, some of them may have started trickling out already. So all of these things are true.
Well, Jim, of course, the opening match at the Royal Rumble was the Women's Royal Rumble. One of my favorite women's matches of the year. It's always lots of fun. You get to see who's really good. You get to see who's really bad. What did you think of this year, the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble?
Are you just trying to pep me up to go into this thing? Well, it was always one of my favorite matches of the year.
It's fun. It's fun. It's the Women's Royal Rumble.
What he did? Oh, geez. Oh, Pete. Here's what I did this year. Because I say this every time, this year, even just this time, I say this every time that we have to do this, where there's a Royal Rumble or an Elimination Chamber or some goddamn cataclysmic Ball of Doom match, that we got to have the girls do it before the guys do it. Now you've seen two of them and So what I decided to do this year was, so that it wouldn't spoil the taste of my mouth for a Royal Rumble, I would watch the Men's Rumble first, and then I'd watch the Women's Rumble. Okay. And then, Brian, I'll have you know.
Does this mean you gave it a chance?
No, because then I was about to say, I'll have you know, it had the opposite effect, because the Men's Rumble was so fucking boring that it killed it for me for the Women's Rumble. But I put it on. I jotted down who was in it, and I watched it closely for the last 5 minutes. Because did I mention, no, I haven't, but I will, this thing went 1 hour. 1 hour and fucking 15 fucking minutes.
With new people coming in to keep it fresh. It's a fun match. It's the Royal Rumble.
What the fuck with new people coming in to keep it fresh?
You never know who it could be. Will it be the person you saw last week on TV or a surprise Bella? You don't know. That's the mystery of the Rumble.
Well, the mystery to me is why that they can't. Why don't they do it like Dusty? Remember when every year Dusty had the Bunkhouse Stampede Battle Royals? All the guys, 25 or 28 of them or whatever, and they got dressed up in their bunkhouse gear, and they had a big bunkhouse battle royal.
And the same guy won every year.
Well, not all of them. Sometimes some of the other guys won some of the battle royals, but he won the big one. But nevertheless, in the fall of 80 or the winter of 88, he did the manager's bunkhouse battle royal because he realized he had like 7 managers. It was me, Paul E., Humperdinck, Gary Hart, Paul Jones, J.J. Dillon. I'm leaving somebody else out. And we had
Gary
the battle royal. Did I say Gary? Well, if I didn't say Gary Hart was in there. And the point is, it didn't last long. It was a little mini version. It was like an appetizer, a little soupçon, a poo-poo. And then they had, instead of 6 managers, they had 5 guys or whatever in the rec. Why can't we do 10 women Royal Rumble? Just give me the top 10.
Why? The one that they're doing works. Everyone seems to like it. Again, it's one of the more enjoyable matches of the year, usually.
How are you? Who is now paying you to say these things, Brian? Have you been contacted by some giant PR firm?
All right, let me try to get you off your little negative train, because we haven't even talked about EO Sky yet, so I know your negative train is going to derail and take a bunch of other trains with it. Let me ask you this. 2 questions.
Yes.
Based on what I watched and what I saw, are you impressed with Sol Ruka? Ruka. I actually don't know how to pronounce her last name. I do this every time. Sol Ruka, I believe it is.
Yes.
And also, while everyone else is raving about it, did you think Lash Legend kind of looked not ready? I don't know. Those are my 2 big thoughts.
I have continued to think that Lash Legend, because remember I said we saw her in developmental. We started watching this fiasco fucking 5-6 years ago. And she was doing the Wendy Williams talk show takeoff. But then I said here a couple months ago, if this is as good as they've got her in 5 years, I don't think she's going to live long enough. And that's the thing, is that you've got talent in this match, much like the men's match, which we'll talk about in great detail. And the girls, I think it hurt the girls. They had more time than the guys did to actually do anything, because all their fucking entrances took 3/4 of the time they had before the next guy comes in. But in this case, we had to see it, just all of these girls do a lot of these things that nobody has any business of doing. And is 30 is too many for too long. I don't want to see anything for an hour and 15 fucking minutes. As Charlotte started out first, I don't want to see her for an hour and 15 minutes if it means going through 29 other women. And Alexa Bliss and Kiana James and our
Kiana James,
Fridge.
she was great. Actually, that's the first time I've seen her in some SmackDown matches, but it's the first time she really impressed me. She looked great in there.
Well, you got to remember that after I've seen the Big Rumble, and the Big Rumble wasn't very big, I'm also zoning out on a lot of this. But
you're just hating everything. This is awful. You're not giving anything a chance.
Let's
go when some of your favorites are coming. Come on, let's go.
When I mention this list of names, I want you to stop me. When I get to someone that you think should be at a main event pay-per-view match just on their own, not because they're part of just a megalopolis of fucking people in the match, but on their own, who needs to be
main eventer, you're saying?
Big time main event match.
Right now.
Charlotte.
Well, you're saying right now, or do I predict this for the future for this person?
No, right now.
Right now.
Who is a main eventer? And somebody that it's a goddamn $100 million fucking fair show, right? It is a big pay-per-view premium live event all around the world. If we got to watch them for an hour, who needs to be in it? Charlotte Flair, yes or no?
Main eventer, yes.
Alexa Bliss.
Not for me, but WWE's used her as a main eventer, and their fans seem to react to her and her silliness.
Kiana James, excellent showing here or no?
Excellent showing here, but not a main eventer.
Okay, Nia Jax.
Unfortunately, they've used her as a main eventer. I wouldn't.
Ivy Nile.
Not a main eventer.
Lola Vice.
Not currently a main eventer.
Candy LaRue.
Not a main eventer.
Jordan Grace. She came in and dumped some people. A jury may be out.
Jury out. She was a main eventer in NXT. They brought her up pretty quickly. They signed her from TNA. So I don't think you could say no.
Okay, but at the same point, we're 8 in already. Becky Lynch. That's a gimme.
Yes.
Saul Ruka. You asked about old Saul.
I would say no right now. I think she's going to be, but we're talking about right now, she's not a main eventer.
Well, yeah, and they're clearly pushing her toward that point. And she's a very vivacious, blonde, California surfer girl type. I don't know what the fuck. She's got the gymnastics, and that's... I hate that fucking little flip she does in the corner because it's so preposterous. I mean, it just defies logic, and your eyes go, what the fuck? Why would that work? And that's why she's doing it, because it's different, but it's fake, but she don't care it's fake because she's in the new generation and she's a gymnast and she thinks everybody thinks it's supposed to be cool and it doesn't matter if it's fake. But having said that, I don't think she has completely natural wrestling instincts yet of any kind. So I would suggest that she's still going to be green for a while and hopefully she'll get it. But she's not one of these girls like a Becky Lynch that wanted to be a wrestler from a young age, from what I can deduce. Anyway, back to, we got like 3 main eventers in the first 10. Roxanne Perez.
You said on her own, not with something, so I can't say like with Judgment Day.
Model Girl. I don't care if they put 18 belts on her or how they push her. She is a lost ball in high weeds, and I do not want to watch her in a wrestling ring.
Not a main eventer.
And Natalia, best worker in the bunch, but not exactly. It's this person's going to set the gate on fire.
And I like her as a heel. I like what they're doing with her right now.
Liv Morgan.
Main eventer, absolutely.
Main eventer.
One of the biggest stars in the entire company.
I'll give it to you. Lash Legend.
Not a main eventer.
Let's go back to the talk shows. Zelina Vega.
Not a main eventer.
Rochelle stopped by on her way from Milan to Minsk. They're pushing her.
I'm not. I would say she's a main eventer, actually.
I would be willing to entertain the prospect.
And I think they're using her so well right now. I think she's a main eventer.
We're already halfway in. We got better than halfway. We got 5. Chelsea Green is the Buddy Landell of the roster. She's just swell and entertaining. Julia.
Yeah. That's complicated. I think they want her to be a main eventer. They booked her as a main eventer in NXT. They quickly brought her up, and she's doing that tag stuff with Kiana James.
You know what, Mama Cornette, you say about wanting, don't you?
No.
You want in one hand and shit in the other one, see which one's going to fill up first.
I'm going to stick with the hand with the want, I think, than the hand with the shit.
There you go. And in number 20, Io Sky.
Main eventer.
And again, I wouldn't watch. But then we get number 21, Oscar.
Main eventer.
22, Rhea Ripley. Now I'm just pissed.
Main eventer, one of the biggest stars in the company. She may have gotten the biggest pop of anyone coming out for this.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. She's an international yacht broker from Toulon, France. She's a superstar. She would have got a fucking huge pop if they had a goddamn match with her and one of the other main eventers. They could have gone 20 minutes tops. But nevertheless, they have turned her again. Did I say it the other day? Instead of this star of a Tarantino movie, she's become the big buddy to the little buddy of a Japanese Gilligan.
What was up with? Did you notice her nose was painted red? Like Rhea had a weird look. I don't give a crap. Some people are like, "Oh, it's a reference to some horror movie." I don't give a shit. She came out there where her nose was red. I don't think she was crying. It wasn't good.
It matched her eyes, but I didn't know why the fuck her eyes looked like that. I'm assuming, like you are, like you said, that it was some homage to some kind of movie that we're too old and white to know about. But it wasn't a good. No, I don't want to see her in the middle of all this shit. And then Bailey came out.
I would say main eventer, although they don't always use her that way. You could always put her in a main event and it works, and she works like a main eventer.
Well, yes, but it's Jane Wayne Gacy, Nikki Bella.
Legend.
Nikki Bella.
Not just main eventer, legend.
Yeah.
All-time legend. Hall of Famer.
There are many things that are legends. Legends that existed before, that the stories have been passed down, like goddamn cholera. I don't want to bring it back. Then Lyric.
Not a main eventer.
Then Kehlani Jordan.
Not currently a main eventer.
Then Carrie Sane.
Not a main eventer. Then
Brie Bella. So they got both Bellas. Now, which Bella has been here and which one had just come back? Because at this point, I'm putting negatives in sleeves. It's just running in the background.
Nikki's been here for a little while. Brie's the one married to Bryan Danielson. She has not come back.
But she's allowed. It don't count in Saudi Arabia. She can cheat on the relationship. right? Because it's across the international date line.
I don't think that's...
That's why they call it the international date line. That's where you cross that line, you can date other people.
This isn't like a Vegas thing. That's not why they call it the international date line. But let's get back. We have more main eventers to talk about.
Well, boy, they called it that when they used to charge me $5.99 a minute. But anyway, then it was Tiffy time.
Main eventer.
And then all 30 were in. And it continued going from there forever. There were people, obviously, that had been eliminated at that point. But again, an hour, and almost exactly an hour and 15 minutes from the first entrance to the final, we get to the point of the matter. But in the last 5 minutes, as I've jotted down, they've taken Rhea from one of the 5 top stars in the company of any gender or genre to a member of the women's roster. And, bleh. So we got Lash Legend, Rochelle, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Sol Ruca, and Tiffany. And Rhea dumped Lash. Okay, boom. And then Rochelle picked Rhea Ripley up in like that choke slam Tejano bomb or whatever. But did you see the choke slam over the top rope to the apron and then the floor? Yeah, it was somewhat controlled, but still a little fucking dangerous.
Well, bump on the apron so she didn't take the bump on the floor, I guess. But
well, yes, I know that, but sometimes people's aims are off here lately. But besides that, it was just, to me, it was abrupt when the one thing that Pat Patterson would do, and also his original version had 20 guys, but he would not only give the people who needed to make an impact spots built into the match when he laid it out to make an impact, but he would also protect guys and or girls who needed to be protected by making sure that when they got dumped, it wasn't unceremonious and it was something big or something understandable or suited the fucking moment. And yes, it's nice that Rochelle dumped Rhea because Rochelle is getting the push, but it was a little abrupt. Okay, bub, here we go. Okay, see you later. And then Liv dumped Rochelle. I mean, who landed on her feet and stood there and stared because they're friends in the Judgment Day. And so that's obviously going to lead to something, but that was a little flat-footed, a little flat. It was like,
You thought so? I didn't think it was that flat.
I think they could have set up where she was, Rochelle was about to really do something big to somebody and let Liv fucking slip in rather than just, here we go.
Hey, just curious in advance, did you fast forward through the men's match at all? Or did you see the Brock Lesnar elimination?
Oh, I saw it, although they tried hard to disguise it.
Okay, that's...
Yes, no.
Yeah.
No, I watched the men's Rumble. That's why I was so sick of fucking Royal Rumbles after watching the men's Rumble. Usually it works the other way. This time it had a negative effect.
I think this is one of those ways WWE gets it right. You should watch these events live, because if you experience the women's one first, you'll enjoy it, and it won't bother you when you get to the men's one hours later after all those commercials.
I wouldn't have really enjoyed this anyway, though. So, because they were down to Liv and Saul and Tiffy, which now we've got 3 blonde cheerleaders in there. And I hate to say this, but Liv would be the experienced veteran. So all of a sudden it was a bunch of fucking wild blonde hair waving sloppy shit that I don't know what some of them were trying to fucking do. They really can't wrestle, but if you need a cartwheel or a round off or a handspring, boom, they could do it, Olympic level. And then they all 3 got on the apron and did the stagey tease fight thing where, ooh, weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. until Tiffy knocked Saul off, and then Liv knocked Tiffy off, and Liv lived to rumble another day. But I didn't even mention the clothing, but I'm sorry, an hour and 15 minutes of watching girls do spots with each other just meaninglessly. It tips me over the edge, and especially when they're wearing, now they've got designers working on full body scuba suits that start at the neck and go all the way to the wrists and the fucking ankles, but at least have some type of design to them that it's not like they would ever wear anything like this on purpose still, but it's like it matches their normal colors. But it's just, yeah, a 10 or 12 girl rumble like the manager's bunkhouse, and then just get to the meat of the matter.
They have a big roster of women. They have to do this. And again, it's good. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. You didn't give it a chance. You didn't give it any chance at all. How many women into the match did you start fast forwarding?
I just left it sit when I was kind of listening to see if anybody, oh my God, she's dead. Otherwise, I was doing chores.
Yeah, again, you didn't give it a chance. You watched it and listened until you heard someone had died, and it didn't happen, so you didn't watch it.
Well, then maybe I was a good luck charm, see? So as long as I don't pay any attention, nobody will get seriously hurt.
I thought this was really good. I enjoyed it. I think Sal Ruka is a star. She should have worn a wetsuit like Medusa used to wear before she got to the WWF.
They couldn't find any water.
Very good point. There goes stuff falling off my desk. Good match, though. And Liv Morgan won, so she gets a title match at WrestleMania. One of the biggest stars in the company. I thought it was a lot of fun.
And there's going to be problems there in the Judgment Day with her and her giant Kevin Nash bodyguard type.
And Roxanne
but
in the middle.
Now, who are the women's champions currently?
Stephanie Vaquer and Jade Cargill.
So which one do you think that Liv Morgan is going to want to fight? And which one is she better pick Stephanie unless she wants to get potatoed, but she'd only have to go about 7 or 8 minutes.
I think she has to pick Stephanie too, although I'd worry about the build up to that match being the fans turning against Stephanie because of Liv.
Yeah.
Even though she's a heel. How is one going to keep up with the other on the mic or anything? But
it's kind of like handsome Jimmy Valiant as a heel against Joey Rossi.
Boy, no one has put down Joey Rossi on a podcast more in a quarter of the year than Jim Cornette has in the last quarter of the year. But that was the Women's Royal Rumble, and Jim,
yes,
you didn't really watch it. You wrote down names. You passed judgment on the names, then you asked me to do the same. But what if you had done this in advance? What if you had written down the names and made a pick? And what if I told you that pick could win you some prizes? Maybe then you would have watched the Rumble and paid attention. But either way, there are more things for you to pick in the future. The big game is coming up. Jim, you know what I'm talking about. Our good friends at Prize Picks.
I thought you were talking about me picking my nose. I'll tell you something. I would have made some picks about that. If I had skin in the game, then I'd have paid more attention. If the girls had some skin in the game, I might have paid more attention. But folks, if you got something riding on things, then you pay a little bit more attention. And this week, Prize Picks has got a special max discount for the big game live in the app right now. I'll have you know, from what I'm being told, Drake May just needs 1 passing yard for the max discount to win. That max discount, of course, brought to you by Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He's spread some of his riches around and sponsored this thing.
No association, no sponsorship. Let's be clear.
I thought that's why they called it the max discount. Or I guess they'd have called it the MJF discount. Folks, if you download the Prize Picks app right now and you go down there and you make your picks, it's simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2, 3, 4, 5, even 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in You can find your community on Prize Picks with the new social feeds feature. You've seen the social feeds feature, Brian. That's where they're getting a lot of people, especially in the wintertime where the weather's cold. They're getting homeless people and people that need fed together.
That's not
and
what it is at all.
They're feeding the whole society. And
That's not what it is.
It's a social atmosphere.
No.
And then they go around asking all these people who they think is going to win the big game. And that's how they determine their odds.
It's not that sort of social atmosphere. It's the social atmosphere like a Tony Khan burner account. It's online.
Well, there's a new feature alert for the folks that Prize Picks now has the early payouts. We've been talking about this. You can get your money before the game even finishes. Of course, once again, you're playing with fire there. If a Hail Mary happens, you're going to have people looking for you for that. But don't buy a home with that money yet. And if you're missing your fantasy team, if the league is already over with Prize Picks, you don't have to wait until next year's draft to keep playing fantasy. You can have a fantasy every night in the privacy of your own home, under the covers, in the dark. They let you play fantasy football every week, even in the playoffs. So pick your favorite players and win when they hit their projections and you get your fantasy. What baseball players do you like to fantasize about, Brian?
I don't fantasize about players. Fantasize is not necessarily the word I would use.
Oh, well, it's the fantasy. But life is just a fantasy. And Aldo Nova will tell you that. So, folks, right now, download the Prize Picks app today and use the code JCE. You're going to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, it's 10 to 1. You get 10 more than what you put in. Play your first $5 lineup, get $50 in lineups with the code JCE at Prize Picks. And then, again, whether it's LeBron or Patrick Mahoney or any of these people that you people fantasize about, well, now you're going to win prizes off of them. Off of the backs of their hard work, you're going to profit. So I hope you people are proud of yourself. And Prize Picks is going to enable your ridiculously evil scheme to make these people make you rich off of their hard work by giving you 10 to 1 what you're playing. I think the whole thing ought to be investigated.
No investigations are needed. And again, sometimes the train goes off the tracks, but we could all get back on the train and maybe they send a ferry or a bus, but how do we get back to where we were going? Prize Picks is away, ladies and gentlemen.
You get on the bus.
No matter what the weather.
Then, of course, the ferry got on the bus, but we're not talking about that.
No, we're not. And what we are talking about is a great deal for the listeners, Jim. The big game coming up. Without any further metaphorical funnies, why don't we let the listeners know about this great deal?
Yes, once again, download the Prize Picks app. We got that, right? We know to do that. Do it today, because you'll forget, and use the code JCE to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's the code, the JCE, 50 to 5, Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
All right. Well, Jim, again, there were lots of matches to make picks on. Let's continue on here with the Royal Rumble.
Gunther versus AJ Styles with his career on the line in a one-on-one match was my favorite thing that I've seen here in the last week or two. Because we had an actual wrestling match amongst guys that can actually wrestle. And the fans there, however many were there, whatever the official total may be, they were into it because they were chanting, "This is awesome," before they locked up, when the bell, and they were, I wish they would have stopped hopping, as a matter of fact, because they were goddamn distracting me. But I don't know how else to say it, but I can see Gunther working any place that I ever watched wrestling. And I can see Gunther working in 1950 in Chicago against Buddy Rogers. If you can see him in black and white and imagine one of those old, the Chicago films. He's timeless. He would worked in any territory. There's nothing he does that's the modern blah or that's dated in any way. It's just he's a serious athlete who doesn't do funny ha-ha and has logical fucking matches. Whether it's the big heavy hands or the goddamn cardio that he's got where he stays involved in shit. I've said he looked like Gene Kaniski. But you can see him working it in Florida in 1980, right? Same shit he's doing now with somebody else, in from the territory at that time, or the Carolinas in the 70s, or whatever. And AJ is not, John Cena or Steve Austin as far as level of star power at the box office, but he's been there a long time, and so they treat him as a main event guy and consider him that. And he can fucking work, and he's still athletic enough that he can do shit. And I mean, I made a lot of notes on the back and forth, and it would just sound like a boring play-by-play. But they had a wrestling match. AJ takes a hell of a backdrop. When is the last time you saw somebody just take a fucking backdrop? I can't tell you the last match I saw that didn't have somebody diving over the top rope out on the floor like a fucking idiot. But I can't remember the last time I saw somebody take a backdrop. The most basic, common pro wrestling move in the history of pro wrestling moves. But they didn't have to do ridiculous shit here, and they didn't need furniture. And Gunther, obviously, is the big guy that stayed on AJ and was physically dominant most of the time, but AJ would have anything from a hope spot to a small comeback before Gunther would take back over. And then AJ could fight from underneath again. But then AJ gets his calf crusher hold, and Gunther gets the sleeper. And they start kicking it up and start getting some 2 counts. But again, they escalated the level of the conflict, and toward the point of time where they were almost done, Gunther was just had vicious heat going and just chopping the shit out of him in the corner. Pow, pow. And the referee be checking him, and he's selling, and the fans are chanting, "Let's go, AJ." And Gunther wouldn't let up, and then AJ would fight back. That's wrestling. Jesus, it's not hard to figure out. And when Gunther caught sleeper, AJ fought up. Gunther took him back down. And then AJ tried to get to the ropes, but he couldn't. And then he passed out. And the only thing, honestly, that I didn't like about this match was, and it fits Gunther, I know, and that's why I give it a pass, as it wasn't just completely bullshit. But there's so many modern finishes that are just stationary finishes. Like I said, it worked better here than most, but I'm not a fan because it's especially flat when the heel wins that way. I know they're trying to be like mixed martial arts and build the tension. Oh, he's in a submission hold. Is he going to tap, or is he going to whatever? Is he going to tap? But God damn it, I miss the days when you could get either that elation of the babyface winning 1, 2, 3 when it was called for, or the fucking hope of the babyface with the fans until the last second he's gonna win it, and then the heel takes it right out from under him, 1, 2, 3, and I dash their hopes. It's like, with these stationary finishes, is he gonna tap? Is he not? Will he make the ropes? Whatever. Yes, it can build some drama, but also people have time to see it coming. And when you see it coming, whether it's what you want to see or what you don't want to see, you reconcile yourself to it enough to where that it's not a big explosion either way. It's more like the foregone conclusion that you figured 10 seconds ago was going to take place. Does that make any sense?
It makes sense. It is a standard finish at this point that we're seeing more and more. Moxley's matches, Gunther's matches.
So are 4 ways and 3 ways and fucking, everything else they over fucking do. And it actually, if somebody was going to do it, I'd have Gunther be the one to do it. So it fits him, but it's always now. But nevertheless, a clear babyface, a clear heel, both main event guys, both can fucking work. Both were serious about what they did. Both were hitting hard in safe places and stiff and emotional with their work. And it went 25 minutes, but it didn't seem like it because it wasn't guys just doing shit to each other over and over at 100 miles an hour and kicking out of everything and lacking in logic. It was a fucking little ride there we took from the beginning to the end. So this was my favorite thing. And Sami and Drew we'll talk about in a minute, which it didn't suck pond water, but I think Gunther is the perfect wrestler. So I got a little bit bigger of a tickle out of this.
In terms of it being the last match for AJ Styles, what do you think?
Well, but now
another guy getting this specific send-off.
Well, but I'm getting mixed signals sent to me because they gave him a big ovation after Gunther left the ring and fans are singing for AJ and everything. And he makes a production out of taking his gloves off and the fans are like, no, no, no. And then he put his gloves back on. Well, what does that mean? Did he lie or what? He left the ring, then he came back and he posed on a turnbuckle. And then but he didn't take his boots off. I guess the gloves were going to be the boots, but he took the gloves off, but then he put the gloves back on. Has he changed his mind? Is he going to say, well, I just can't leave you now? That would be kind of kabuki-ish. So he said he was going to retire this year. Then he said he would put his career up against Gunther. And then he lost in the match. And then he takes his gloves off. So why don't he put them down in the ring? Why did he put them back on? I assume we're going to find out something when we next hear from these people.
Nakamura put up that post saying that AJ told him in advance the Royal Rumble was his last night, and that is what happened. Of course, AJ Styles this past week was in the news because he trademarked the name AJ Styles and Phenomenal One, the logo that he had on the gloves. So he's making sure he's ready for a post-WWE career if necessary. How much would Tony Khan give AJ Styles?
Well, that's the thing, is that I can't say he wouldn't do it for $10 million or whatever. I think if AJ, who was still being used as a main event level guy, and I don't know why he would want to leave and we haven't heard about his contract coming up. That's another thing. Nobody said his contract, or did I miss this? That his contract was going to be up anytime soon, just that he was thinking about retiring. Is he trademarking that himself so that he can own himself after his career? But I don't see any reason why he would leave and go there at this time with the relationship he has with the WWE. I think he's serious about not being in the ring, maybe except if he wants to once in a while for a behind the scenes purpose, or, does he want to start a school, or does he want to work it behind the scenes in their program? I don't think he's leaving the company. Because
yeah, and by the way, that's the only other option. It's he stays with the company or he goes to AEW. For those of you writing in saying, what about TNA? He's not going to TNA.
No. And he wouldn't have to quit the WWE to go to TNA anyway. But that's I don't know why at this point, unless he just said, you know what, this guy will give me $10 million for a year or 2 years or whatever, and how can I not? I really don't see why he would leave in the position he's in and the good graces he's in and go wrestle for AEW.
$10 million, 25 matches at most a year. I don't know. It's appealing. Again, I don't know if it's $10 million. We're just throwing that number. That's pretty excessive.
Well, that's why I'm saying at some point, I guess anybody would almost do anything. But, but AJ is not in dire need of money. And I don't know what he would think he could accomplish over there at this point that nobody else can. But nevertheless, it was odd with the gloves.
And again, Gunther now choked out Goldberg, John Cena, who smiled, of course, at the end, and AJ Styles. Where do they go next with Gunther?
Brock. I want to see that fucking match. And I want Gunther to beat Brock. That is the victory that he needs. That I've been saying that's the natural one, the most believable physical guy in the ring of the previous generation against the most believable physical guy in the ring of this generation. And if Brock is motivated to do it the right way and put Gunther over rather than just losing a match to him.
Well, we shall see. But Jim, there was another big match before the next Royal Rumble here on this event.
There was another big match before the next big match for one of the world titles. And I'm sorry, it's just another thing that, a Royal Rumble winner gets to world championship match at WrestleMania in the main event. But now we know the Elimination Chamber winner gets a WrestleMania main event against another world champion. They've diluted this thing down by half. So the world title match was Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre, and that's why they put Sami over in Montreal. We talked about this, the second part of the doubleheader. They love him in Montreal because he's local, and they love him in Saudi Arabia because now they love him there where they didn't love him before. It's a thin line between love and hate, Brian. And again, at least we have a clear babyface, a clear heel, a reason to get behind the fucking underdog, a one-on-one match with regular rules. It doesn't need furniture. And, that was the most refreshing thing do you think, is Saudi Arabia the last place in the goddamn world that hasn't been polluted? Well, no, they've done it there before with the garbage matches. But the furniture, we didn't need the furniture. That was refreshing. Sami Zayn is the best all-around babyface seller in the WWE. And that's the part that I liked the best about him when he was El Generico, is that he could sell so well as a babyface. And that was when he was 15 years younger. So he actually was a little bit better at it there just because he was a little fresher of a pup. But also he's a little bit smarter now. But he opens up with his flashy babyface shit and does a dive. And then the heel takes over on him, gets heat on him, and he fights from underneath. And Drew fit his part perfectly here because he's an excellent heel. And not only does his athletic shit, his moves, his work, for the most part, look good, but also his body language and his facial expressions. He's himself all the time. So again, Sami's got to fight from underneath. And I liked most of this match. But then I thought in trying to make Sami before they beat him, I don't know, they lost me, and they may have lost to people already, because now that we know that it was after midnight by this point, because the one thing that I noticed was for Sami to be so popular over there, when Drew hit the white noise, Sheamus's move off the second turnbuckle or whatever, and got a 2 count and Sami kicked out, I was like, well, we're starting to go a little too far here in the heat, and there wasn't a big pop either. And then Drew hit it 3 of his DDTs in a row, cover, and got a 2 count. And I wrote no too much, and the fans weren't going ballistic. Now, was it a problem with the miking, or is it my hearing, my ears still clogged, or were the people kind of like not hanging on the edge of their seat when Sami was kicking out of these things?
Again, this is one of those times where I started asking myself, how many people are there? Seriously, because you can't tell, and at times the crowd seemed loud, and at times they didn't. I don't know. I agree with you that they may have gone a little too far, but I don't know about it killing whatever the house was.
Well, I'm not saying it killed it, but my problem is that Drew, in trying to, I guess they thought beforehand that if we do all these things to Sami and he keeps kicking out, that the people are going to be jumping up and down throwing babies in the air. And this is the kind of finish where it would have worked if the people were throwing the babies. But because they weren't throwing the babies, I was like, oh, come on now. Let me give it again to you. White noise off the turnbuckle. Boom, big bump, 2 count. 3 of his DDTs in a row, 2 count. Drew hit 2 big clotheslines, then missed a kick. Then Sami tried a kick and missed it. And then Drew hit the kick. 2 count, Sami got the ropes. Then Drew argued with the referee for no apparent reason for a second. And then Sami hit the kick. And Drew barely turned his shoulder. And it wasn't, you couldn't see it in that big building. And then Drew crawled over to the desk out on the floor, and Sami followed him, and Drew powerbombed Sami on the fucking desk. And the referees were checking on Sami. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, just shoot him then. Or just take a fucking axe and give poor Sami 40 whacks. And then Drew rolled him back in and started beating on him and taunting him. And Sami came back after all that with a suplex in the corner, the exploder, and went for the kick. And Drew hit his kick, didn't cover him, hit another kick, 1, 2, 3. Like, God damn, here's a sledgehammer. Again, I think it was just too much for Drew, who is in this title picture, obviously, deeply, along with Cody and Jacob and all the challengers they've got. And Sami, yes, is popular and needed to have a great showing, but they got into AEW territory with this, and it's fucking, and look at Sami is 75 pounds smaller and lower on the pecking order than Drew, and Drew need to fucking cannon. So besides for the last 3 or 4 minutes, I wasn't offended by this match, but I think it could have been better if they'd have shortened that down to just euthanize him once and pin him. But now you tell me.
I thought it was all right. I was glad Drew won. I thought that was the right move. I thought they would do something to get a big pop, and they didn't. Do you think Sami will ever get the world title? You had 2 moments now where you could say it was set up for it to happen if it ever was going to. The match with Roman Reigns in Montreal, which we didn't think they should have and they shouldn't have. Others were arguing that was the time. And now this one, main event in Saudi Arabia, a crowd that loves them. They're not going to do it now either. And again, it doesn't seem like it's the time, but do you think there ever will be a time?
It was after midnight. They didn't love him. That's another thing. If they were jumping up and down like the old days of Steve Austin, then that finish may have been justified. But they thought, apparently, when they laid it out, that was going to happen. But it's after midnight, but it didn't happen. But I said at the time that would have been crazy. to beat Roman Reigns with Sami in Montreal, even though, yes, the pop would have been massive for one night, but it would have eviscerated all the carefully constructed plans they had for, I don't know, like other towns, not Montreal. Any other towns, not Montreal. And they couldn't do that. And it would hurt Sami more if they put the world title on him and took it off him 2 weeks later than if he never gets it. Because then his fans can always, one day, or I wish he had of, or whatever. But yeah, he did, and he lost it 2 weeks later. And that's what would have to happen, because no, he wouldn't be. Definitely when there was only one, you wouldn't make Sami the world champion. And even now that there's two, he couldn't be the world champion for months and months and months. He's a great bridesmaid.
Well, there it is. Once again, the bridesmaid, Sami Zayn. Drew McIntyre retains the title. We'll see what happens on his road to WrestleMania. But Jim, you brought it up earlier. Whether in his current iteration or as the masked El Generico, Sami always knew how to sell. Maybe his single greatest skill in the wrestling ring. Not everyone knows how to sell. A lot of people need some help. A helping hand from a professional. A professional in an office building.
A leg up.
You need a leg up. And you need to sit down and relax, knowing that there's something there to give you some peace of mind. A partner who can get your products out to the world, can handle the commerce, can help you with getting the word out. Our good friends at Shopify.
I was going to help you with getting the word out there for a second. Folks, if you want a leg up, let me tell you what, Shopify, they're big boys. They control and they command 10% of all the e-commerce in the United States, which at last account was $74 trillion and $14. And they are the platform behind millions of businesses around the world. So if you talk about needing a leg up, when Shopify gets a hold of you, they're gonna jack one leg up, then they're gonna jack the other leg up, and both your legs are gonna be way up in the air. And then they're gonna send the knowledge that they have straight down the middle, folks.
Okay, I don't know what you're trying to say, but folks, what we're trying to say here is
watch out for that kid.
A partner you could trust, a partner we trust them with our online business.
Yeah, hey, you got to trust your partner when both your legs are up in the air, folks. And I'll tell you what, Shopify is a partner that you can trust. They're going to get behind you, or they'll be on top of things. Every once in a while, they'll put you on top, but that's only financially. But you're going to be in a variety of positions, and Shopify will show you how to get maximum impact and depth from each one of them. Whether it's getting started with your own design studio, whether it's accelerating your efficiency by uploading new products or trying to improve existing ones, they've got all the helpful AI tools. They can strap those tools right on and give you the experience you deserve. They can write product descriptions and page headlines, take candid photography. And folks, with marketing, they can get the word out like there'll be somebody screaming at the top of their lungs about your products every day of the week. Out in the town square, you'll just hear screaming and yelling. That means that Shopify is servicing another customer. And best yet, they've got world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns. And they also know about the public nudity laws in all 50 states. And what if you get stuck, ladies and gentlemen? Well, Shopify is always around to share advice with their award-winning 24/7 customer support. You call them up if you're a customer 24/7, you need help. Ask them whatever. Say, God damn it, I've just shot my wife. And I don't know what to do with the body.
Don't say that. No. Why? First of all, don't do that. Second of all, don't say that even if you don't do that. Bad example.
Well, if you don't do it, you don't say it.
That's what we want to talk about here.
You'll never find out what happens. But tackle all those important tasks in one place, folks, except for shooting the wife. from
Don't shoot
inventory to
again.
payments.
Let's not use this
Well,
example.
all the important tasks besides that. That's why I
let's talk
said,
about
don't do
selling,
that.
not shooting. We're talking about
Yes.
selling two different things. Some can sell, some can shoot.
Just leave her locked up in the basement. She won't be able to interfere. There's no need to go to multiple websites or try to figure out what platform is hosting the tool that you need, because all the tools are in one place at Shopify. And right now, you can start your business today with the industry's best business partner, Shopify, and start hearing that sale sound. There it is. That means you're making money. Sign up for your $1 a month trial period today at shopify.com/JCE. That's shopify.com/JCE for a $1 a month trial period so you can find out what it's all about for only $1. And then they will propel you into the upper stratosphere of money-making big businesses. You'll be a corporate typhoon. Shopify.
We trust them. You can too. Shopify.com/JCE for a great deal.
Yep, you call that customer support. You can tell them anything. They won't stooge on you. Confess your darkest
we're at
secrets.
the end. We're, once again, Jim, that promo code, which connotates the end.
JCE. That's the end of that.
All right, Jim.
See, now you're using both hands.
That was one hand. And there's no transition from there, Jim. But
it was all 5 fingers. So at least if you only give me one hand when you do the job, use all 5 fingers.
Jim, while we still have all of our body parts, let's try to get out of Saudi Arabia. Let's return the Royal Rumble. One match left, the big Royal Rumble, the men's Royal Rumble.
And Bonesaw McGraw did not join the Rumble. By the way, when the men's Royal Rumble started, which is kind of the thing that the show is named after, we were 2 hours and 45 minutes into this broadcast. And the 4th match was up.
Well, one match was an hour.
You're telling me. All right. So, and by the way, okay, so the first match was an hour and 15 minutes. And then 25 minutes for Gunther and AJ. So an hour and 45. And then 20 minutes maybe. So they've still dicked around for almost an hour in between this thing. Anyway, the men's Royal Rumble, and there was a pattern that you'll begin to notice when they've not only... Remember, I was telling you the story about, we were talking about the Royal Rumbles that I was involved in as a manager, except for the thing with Vader where there was a big schmoz. But like one year, I just pointed to the ring for Jimmy Del Rey and Tom Pritchard to just run as fast as you can. Now with the entrances, and they're in a stadium, and they're doing some of the guys, the full entrance, Jay yeeted for Christ's sake. That by the time that they play the music, do the entrance, and get in the ring, they literally do 2 spots, and boom, there's the next guy. But meanwhile, while that they're shooting the entrance, and everybody's attention's on the entrance, all the guys in the ring most of the time are just fucking laying there selling. So you've got a match that goes an hour, that every 2 minutes it stops for about a minute to a minute and a half. And then it starts again and goes for another 30 seconds. Am I over exaggerating this?
Again, it's the Royal Rumble. It's a fun match. It's a fun night. It's the one match where you don't know what's going to happen or who's going to come out or who will be
or how long it's going to take.
It was 2 minutes in the past. It's 90 seconds here. It was 90 seconds in the past as well.
Well, but and here's another thing. Was it 2 minutes? Because the men's Rumble went an hour. The women's went an hour and 15 minutes. Did they start cutting time when they realized, oh, fuck, it's 2:00 in the morning? What?
Who's timing this show?
I do. That's. But the point is, but again, Royal Rumble traditionally was you run down there and jump in, and there's the chaos that I mentioned in the girls, match rundown that we did, that Pat Patterson would have spots for guys to shine that you wanted to protect, and different ways for guys that were top guys to be eliminated with all the focus on them, but that they had an out or an excuse, they were ganged up on, whatever. And in this one, and I'll give it away, but we'll get to it. The biggest elimination, Brock Lesnar was barely caught on camera while some other fucking knucklehead was making his goddamn entrance. And it was Jey Uso.
It was the biggest entrance anyone got, yeah.
The biggest entrance anybody got. And at that point, while he was yeeting through the whole stadium, Cody and LA Knight teamed up to eliminate Brock. Because it had taken so long to do the previous shit, they just... when Phoenix came in, Brock caught him and slammed him and Germaned Oba and dumped Phoenix, and then Oba had to clothesline Brock and hit Logan Paul and try to dump Paul, and Brock dumped him. Well, here comes Jey Uso, but it's time for Brock to leave, but they just did it anyway. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So number one was Oba Femi. And there are still people that think, oh, Cornette fucking shits on Oba Femi because he had a Nigerian accent. Remember, we saw him the one time, and I said, why is he putting on the fake accent? And come to find out, he's really from Nigeria, but he exaggerates the accent. And ever since then, everybody's like, oh, Cornette hates him. He looks great. I don't know that I've seen him yet in a particular position where I thought he was ready to be the fucking world champion here in modern times. He had that little match with Cody, right? Not bad. But nevertheless, he's first and Braun Breaker is second, because that's the thing that Paul Heyman's pissed at Adam Pearce because Braun Breaker got the number 2 spot, and Pearce is saying it's a blind draw. But I remember them giving out specific spots in the past. They just make this shit up. So anyway, Braun Breaker's coming down the entranceway, and the guy in black, the black hoodie, the black outfit, he's not a ninja, but it's all black, jumps Braun Breaker, runs him into the stairs, beats him up, stomps him, rolls him in, and then Oba Femi clotheslined him out. And the guy in black ran off, and Paul had a fit screaming, that was Seth Rollins! That was Seth Rollins! And Braun just staggered out. No, it wasn't time for him to win it. Maybe they thought that would be received better than it. Should they have let the thing get started before they did that? Just so it wouldn't be just like people be like, oh, fuck. Quite a letdown. What do you think?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, I guess you have to look at it like they do. It plays into the bigger picture, which will be Braun was screwed over, Drew McIntyre style, and he's going to be on the rampage, maybe against Adam Pearce, maybe against Rollins, and if it's not Rollins, who's the new Austin Theory?
Well, I think it was Austin. I think it was Austin Theory. Because whoever that person was doesn't have to be the person that's revealed, because he didn't reveal himself. And if they want it to be Seth, then, I mean, I did the same thing one time. I couldn't get the Heavenly Bodies in town, so Well Done under ski masks attacked the Storm and Jericho in the parking lot. And we just said it was the Heavenly Bodies. But this was a little flat, but I think it was Theory, because he moved the same way. He did the fucking stomp. And they just said, here, you go out there and we'll reveal later on. I'm not saying it's going to be Theory in the end. Although, who knows, it may be. Because I don't know if they know what they're doing. Anyhow, So that was that. And then here came Solo. And you got a little Solo and Oba, and then Rey Mysterio, and then Rusev. And Rusev got dumped in 30 seconds. What did he do here now? Where they just said, well, fuck it then. He just got back.
I'll take a one-way trip to Bulgaria, please. It is surprising. You thought they would book him stronger than he was booked. I mean, he's just not been booked at all well since he came back. I don't know if it's an issue we just don't see. But when he was, for a little while, booked well in AEW, he was really effective and really good. And he's just a non-entity right now in WWE. A non-entity.
But anyway, so Oba, that's where Oba broke out. And he dumped Rusev 30 seconds after he came in. And then he dumped Solo and he dumped Ray and got booed for that. Because, again, if I was a new babyface in the Royal Rumble, the last thing I'd want to do is dump any of the legendary baby faces, whether they think it'll get me over or not. And then out came Matt Cardona, Fred de Cordova, de Cabada. And he had an exchange with Oba and got dumped again. So now Oba was alone again. So they're doing the thing where the big guy, commands the ring. So they have plans for Oba. And at Damian Priest, at least he ran down. But Damian Priest and Oba Femi, they're trying to do some kind of lackluster, choreographed, aggressive parkour routine where with the block and the kick and the duck and the... I don't know if that got it. Because they're both... Priest doesn't have the oomph that he needs, and Oba don't need to be doing fancy dance stuff. But then Javon Evans came in, and he ducked and dodged and bounced around because, as we've mentioned many times, that boy bouncy. And he does the cute stuff, and I'm thinking, okay, again, this is a kind of showcase where this kid can last a little while by doing all this fancy stuff, and he's the underdog, and he works hard. People want to like him. But then the next guy was Mr. Iguana with the puppet in his mouth. And now instead of Javon Evans, who is athletic and at least it's a real person wrestling or whatever, now the Iguana guy makes everybody look stupid, having to, even though like Priest double choke slammed Iguana and the puppet. Even if they're not cooperating by getting beat up by this guy, the fact that they're cooperating with the spots with him makes everybody look stupid. The fans were conflicted because do you think AAA is a big deal in Saudi Arabia? Do you think, have they ever seen Mr. Iguana? Do you think over there?
Well, the internet is everywhere. Well, I shouldn't say everywhere. Your king has to let you have it.
Well, do you think he's uppermost in the minds of all the fans in Saudi Arabia, whether they got the internet or not?
I think whether it's Mr. Iguana, who I'm embarrassed by when I see him. I don't give a fuck how much people like him in Lucha Libre. Or Powerhouse Hobbs. I don't think the fans here know anyone outside of WWE. By and large. The majority of when I say fans, the people that the royal family invited to this event.
However they got there, it didn't seem like a lot of the people knew what the fuck this was or what was going on, did it?
No.
So, then Trick Williams, who dumped Iguana and became my new hero. That was number 10. And then number 11, Cody. And the crowd woke up because here's a star. But he did the full entrance with the pyro while everybody else was laying there. And by the time that he threw his weight belt out to the people and threw a couple punches with Oba, it was time for number 12. That's what I'm saying. If you're the TV broadcast, at least you're looking at the guy coming down the ramp and the announcers are talking about him and the music's playing or whatever. But for the people in the arena with the view of everything, it's a match that goes for 30 seconds and then stops for the next guy to come out, who was El Grande Americano, who was followed at number 13 by the original El Grande Americano, who's Chad Gable. So you got Gable and Kaiser, and they're both ripped, and they look great, and I just hate that. And we've got heat people on Twitter because you said that was the stupidest gimmick, but what the fuck? It's just, they can do whatever they want in Mexico if they're over in Mexico, but it's just clown show bullshit. And again, Saudi Arabia did not seem to understand that they're the hottest thing in Mexico, did they?
Again, they're broadcasting to the world. They want to make sure that the stars of the WWE system are seen by the entire world.
Thank you, Bruce Pritchard. So then the Americanos fought with each other in original dump number 2. So that's kind of like Coke Classic beating New Coke. And then Trick dumped the original one, and then Cody dumped Trick. Cody dumped Trick, not Cody dumped Tricked. Or dump trucked. Did he dump truck it over? Speaking of dump trucks, Powerhouse Hobbs, they put up on the entrance video, Powerhouse Hobbs. And then the announcer said, well, here's the guy formerly known as Powerhouse Hobbs. And it morphed into Royce Keys, or Hoist Keys for those of you in Brazil. No pop, because they don't know who Powerhouse Hobbs was. But at the same time, why were the announcers saying, have they ever done this? When a guy's changed his name? Well, he used to be so-and-so, but now he's a completely different name that sounds nothing like the former name. And didn't explain why that he's changed as he's trying to stay ahead of the law. But nobody knew who Powerhouse Hobbs was in Saudi Arabia in the building. And they've gotten guys who were much bigger stars under other names and didn't mention their previous name. But I guess what I'm saying, Brian, is what the fuck? Why, this was very odd for them to do this.
The way they did it was really odd, and we heard from a lot of listeners because the story came out. The name Royce is a tribute to his son named Royce, and the name Keys is a tribute to the maiden name of his mom, and that's very nice.
Yes.
We were just saying Powerhouse Hobbs is a better name. It's a more marketable
Hobbs
name.
Is a better name for the guy that is standing there I'm looking at right now. He looks more like Powerhouse Hobbs than he does Royce Keys.
But if you were going to do that, if you were going to bring him out.
If you're taking that name away from him, then why do you mention, oh, this was before he was, but now?
Yeah, why wouldn't you just bring him out as Royce Keys, even if you want to reference anything to past? Not only what they mentioned, they had an image, they had his name, Powerhouse Hobbs, on the screen for 2 seconds. And you're like, oh shit, it's hot. Oh no. And then it breaks and it's Royce Keys. Like the new name overpowered the old name. Why even mention the old name if you're never going to use it and the fans there don't know him? But the whole thing was a questionable presentation for someone who hopefully will get a really good, fair shake of things in WWE.
Well, he power slammed and dumped Priest, and he spine busted Javon, and he had a face off and a fight with Cody. And then here's Theory comes in. And Theory hit Evans and hit Cody twice and just went over to the corner and started fighting a guy. And then Bronson Reed. And it started, again, the entrances started overpowering the match. Elia, he made a comeback on everybody for 15 seconds, and then it settled down. They're not letting a lot of these guys, or if they're not producing it down to the nub like they used to, where it's, okay, you just get in and do whatever, then if I was some of these guys, I'd go to another couple of guys and say, hey, let's do a spot. They just kind of hop in. Anyway, number 18, La Parka. And I wrote, fucking hell, dead silence. It's not even the real La Parka. The real La Parka, when I last saw him, weighed like 300 fucking pounds. This guy weighed like 190. I think it was a fucking cruise guy that was Abraham Lincoln for MJF in a La Parka suit.
Did you hear what they were saying on commentary? It was really funny, actually, because, like you said, the original La Parka from WCW, from AAA, lost the rights to use that name when he left AAA. Antonio Pena owned the rights. So he became L.A. Park, doing all of his funny mannerisms and everything else, and there's just some new La Parka. So this guy's not the original La Parka, and they said that on commentary, like, when they're giving his history, they're giving the history of the character, not the person. They're like, oh, this is a famous character, his history. And I'm like, what? He has nothing. This guy has nothing to do with the other La Parka at all.
So he got credit for all of the fucking inanimate objects that Endora turned the Dick York Darren into, even though he's Dick Sargent.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So then he beat up Theory and Ilya and danced, and then 19 Dragon Lee, and I wrote, this is just watching guys enter. And then number 20, Logan Paul. So then all of a sudden, with kind of a little, not much fanfare, minuscule amounts, Logan Paul, Reed, and Theory ganged up and dumped Royce Keys. And then Bronson Reed drumped Dragon Lee. And then at 21, L.A. Knight. They might not know who L.A. Parka is, but they, by God, know who L.A. Knight is. The people popped and started chanting, L.A. Knight, L.A. Knight. What is it that are they just being mean to the fucking fans at this point? That everywhere this guy goes, the people chant for him and they fucking say, yeah, and he gets a big pop. And he never does anything.
That's the story of his WWE career, whether he was used well or not. He's always over more than they want him to be, which should be a good problem, but you got to capitalize on it at some point before it runs out.
So the Vision triple teamed him, but he dumped Theory and dumped Reed, and the fans were up, and he got on Logan Paul. And then it was time for number 22, Brock Lesnar, who came out with Paul. And that made me think Paul was headed to the ring with Braun Breaker. Why had Paul already been out there with fucking Bronson Reed or Austin Theory or Logan Paul? But now he comes out with Brock, who suplexes Cody and LA Knight and Evans and F5 Evans and faces off with Obafemi. And as soon as we get that face off, the music plays and it's Miz. And I'm like, what the fuck? The people were up. They want to see Brock and Oba. Miz slides in, realizes what he's going to get into, slides back out because he's scared. But everybody else then jumped Brock and Oba. So Brock dumped Ilya, and Brock tried to, or he did German Cody, but Cody sandbagged him halfway, trying not to land on Logan Paul. It was starting to get a little tight. And then they go back to Brock and Oba, a face-off again, but now more music. I'm like, motherfucker. And it's Phoenix. So he dives off the top rope, which why wouldn't you? And Brock catches him and slams him and Germaned Oba and dumped Phoenix. And then Oba clotheslined Brock and nailed Logan Paul and went to dump Logan Paul and Brock dumped him. It's like, why did you turn your back on this guy that you've been facing off with for the past 10 minutes after one clothesline? So it was just kind of a flat way to get rid of Oba. But then speaking of flats, that's when Jey Uso's music played, and then Brock was still doing shit. He Germaned Logan Paul, but now we're looking at Jey yeeting through the whole stadium. And that was the spot where Cody and LA Knight eliminated Brock which was lost because of the entrance. And then I swear to God, when Jay got to ringside, one of the referees came over with his hand on his IFB gimmick and fucking cut his eyes to the ring like, get in a ring. And he did. And the music stopped, and then he stood there and had him run it back and start it up again. And by the time his music stopped, the music for the next guy started, which was Roman Reigns, who has to walk to the ring purposefully with pyro. And then they face off, Roman and Jay, while everybody else is just laying around. And Roman tells Jay to start his music back up again. Jay gets a big smile and he starts it, and Roman draws back and knocks the shit out of him. And then Roman leveled everybody and dumped The Miz and had a face-off with Cody, and we're ready for more music. Have I droned on enough, or do you want to get in here? Or do you get we're going to walk out, we're going to do 2 fucking moves, and more music's going to play.
You know, the other day, in advance of the Rumble, I ended up watching the January, well, they're all January. I ended up watching the 1989 Rumble, which you don't hear people really talk about too much as being like an all-time classic. I just wanted to, like you said, I hate to say it, I wanted to enjoy entrances. And back then, the entrances were the guys ran to the ring. Some of the big guys walked. But it was so exciting, and you got action. 1 and 2, Demolition Axe and Smash. And they go in there and just start kicking the shit out of each other. And then how do you stop this? Because, I mean, it's pretty interesting booking. Babyface tag team beating each other up. Number 3, Andre the Giant. And it went from there, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. But there was time in between the guy getting in the ring and the next guy coming out to get some stuff done.
Yeah.
And you don't get that as much now. Because they have entranceways that need cars, to be quite honest with you, to get you to the ring quick.
If it was in the same area code, it would be as the ring, the locker room, it would be better. But so anyway, we get to face off with Roman and Cody, and then the music plays, and it's Jacob. And Jacob, as he's coming down, Cody goes to dive out at him, and Jacob stopped him and beat him up on the floor, and he super kicked LA Knight. Big Samoan drop on Javon Evans. And then he has the face-off with Roman. But Cody knocks Jacob out of the way and has a face-off with Roman. And then Roman Reigns and Jey Uso double-team Cody. And wait a minute, what the fuck? Roman Reigns just punched Jay in the fucking face 10 minutes ago. Why are
they're family.
Then number 28 was Penta, and I wrote, who gives a shit at this point? LA Knight hit stuff on everybody, but then Cody knocked him off the apron, and he was eliminated, and Cody got booed for eliminating LA Knight. Number 29 was Orton. He did 2 power slams. The fans sang his song. He did a double DT. He had the DTs. He had a double DDT on Jay and Penta and 2 RKOs on Logan Paul and Penta. And then here's music. So, I mean, it was 20 seconds. And the last guy was Gunther at number 30. And again, he's great because he was limping just slightly. On the way, he's already had a hard match. On the way to the ring, he was beat up, but he wasn't cartoony beat up, and he was selling his leg. So at that point, you've got most of the top guys left. Orton RKO'd and dumped Evans out, and Gunther dumped Penta. And then they did the spot where Orton and Cody decided they were going to team up on Gunther, but Gunther moved and Cody cuttered Orton. Which, when that eventually happens, is going to be the battle of the RKO and the Cody Cutter. But this may be, if it's not the start, it's one of the, what do the kids call them, breadcrumbs? It's one of the things that when they do the turn, they're going to go back and refer to this and or play it. But when Cody had cuttered Orton, then Jacob threw Cody over the top, but Cody hung on. But Drew came out and boom, and knocked him off and eliminated Cody. So again, there's multiple run-ins in the Royal Rumble now. Did there used to be run-ins in the Royal Rumble, or was everybody officially running in?
Every now and then, but Drew McIntyre is on a revenge tour.
Well, and as well as the guy in black. And then Roman Reigns from behind dumped Fatu, his own, the member of the family. And then Roman Reigns dumped Jay, so it was Logan Paul, Roman, Orton, and Gunther.
Hey, can I just say Logan Paul was pretty excellent in there.
Yes, because, and here's the thing, I know a lot of people will say, well, he's green, even though he lays out his matches, you can't really practice something like this. But there's not periods of time where he has to go through long, intricate spots in this thing. We know he remembers his shit well, and he's very athletic, and he's been a star performer at, the high level matches. But in this one, as long as he doesn't get lost, it's, it's not like all the burden is on him to go 20 minutes with one other guy. But nevertheless, you got okay, and we just talked about it on the previous show. Roman Reigns, but hey, y'all got to get your creative shit together. Because I don't know that I would have particularly predicted this or wanted it, but Roman dumped Logan Paul and Gunther dumped Orton. And then Gunther got a sleeper on Roman. Roman fought it and ran Gunther into the turnbuckle and speared him and dumped him. It just seemed like, that kind of happened, but now Roman Reigns is the winner. What champion do we want to see Roman Reigns fight, Brian, at WrestleMania? Or let me give you this idea. Do we want to see him call out the People's Champion?
I think that would be, I'm thinking about Roman versus Punk, which could be good. Especially if Heyman's involved with the layout. However, if The Rock is really going to be able to do anything, they got to do it with Roman. I mean, Cody, he owes Cody a pinfall if he's going to do stuff.
I don't.
But they've been teasing the thing with him and Roman for years. There has to be a payoff.
What I'm saying is that I don't particularly want to see Roman right now against any of the world champions they have in the WWE. And if I know we said he's lacking something, maybe right now, maybe they put him over in this because he is, as a baby face, lacking direction, lacking oomph, lacking whatever. But I don't know that to whether I would rather see Roman Reigns come out and say, if I get my pick of champion, I'm calling one out, the People's Champion, because this son of a bitch was my tag team partner and got in all this, and then where the fuck he went to Hollywood, just manufacture some goddamn. I want to show who the head of the table really always has been, and I want one more chance. So I want the People's Champion. And let Rock come in and put him fucking over. But otherwise, I don't know.
But I think that the issue is,
and they're also, and one more thing, and then I'll let you just run away with it. They're getting in the same fucking predicament that Tony's in, where a lot of their baby faces are bitching and whining at each other instead of having strong heels to fucking bitch and whine at. Go ahead.
I don't think there's too much you could have done with Roman other than have him win. If he doesn't win, he has nothing at all. At least with the win, he has something now for the next few months into WrestleMania. And it's a main event thing. Other than that, again, he's been popping in and popping out. He hasn't been around for like weeks. I mean, it's going back to when he was champion, but now that he's not champion, him not being there, he becomes a forgotten thing until he shows up again. So at least this will put him in the mix until WrestleMania.
Well, I guess you're right. But still, overall, I like certain people in this thing. I wish I could have seen more of them. But everybody has to walk to the ring for a minute and a half while everybody else lays around. And this, as I said, was an hour long, which was 15 minutes shorter than the fucking girls.
Hey, imagine an alternate universe where Gunther wins and he calls out the People's Champion. I've retired these other guys as one more on my Mount Rushmore. The People's Champion.
We can do it the easy way or we can do it the hard way. And then all the boys would say, here, Gunther, here's an extra fucking payoff for you that night. Get even for him coming in and fucking up all of our booking. But that was the Royal Rumble.
That was the men's Royal Rumble. We'll talk a little bit about the post-show in a moment. But, of course, winning the Royal Rumble is a big deal. Flying back from Saudi Arabia is a big deal. You want to hope to get some sleep? Maybe listen to some tunes. And, Jim, we have a friend who can help the listener or the wrestler listen to some tunes wherever they are, our friends at Raycon.
Oh, Brian, I thought you were talking about our friend Bill. Bill, it can help you hear music and see colors. He hangs out in an alley at 4th and Chestnut. But you're talking about our friends over at Raycon. And that gave me time to think about how glorious the Raycon wireless earbuds are. But I'll tell you what now they've got. They got the incredible essential open earbuds that are even so much better because they not only let you hear the music or the program or the topic that you're listening to, Brian, but also the world around you. You can hear somebody screaming your name, "Leg out!" You can hear your wife saying, "I'm going to spend all your money if you don't stop me."
Why are these?
You can hear a car honking as it's ready to bear down upon you. So see, you don't have to just be run over, broken financially, or otherwise crushed physically by all these sounds around you while you're listening to your tunes. You can hear both. These Raycons sit right outside the ear canal. That means that it's close enough that your paddle can reach the boat, but at the same time, the canal gives you a really clear sound, but you can hear what's happening around you. They're lightweight. The ear hook rotates. Now, there's been a lot of cases of people rotating the hook around the other way and sticking it inside the ear hole.
There have not been a lot of cases. Oh, whoa. There's not been a lot of cases of this. Let's just make sure we clarify.
Well, no, if you stick the ear hook, if you stick the ear hook in the ear hole, then the earbud is pointed outwards, and that way other people can hear your programming.
Ladies and gentlemen,
so you got to watch out what you're listening. If you're listening to any state secrets,
oh yeah,
it'll just be broadcast out in the public.
In case you are unaware, and I would hope you'd be aware, do not stick anything like that into your ear canal. But that's one of the great things about these Raycon. I have them right here. I have both my everyday earbuds, but the essential open earbuds. One of the great things is you don't have to worry about that. It's pretty easy to understand exactly how to use these earbuds that are fantastic with a great sound. Raycon.
It depends on whether your ears are facing forwards or backwards. Now, the forwards, it's easier, but the backwards, that's why they make the hook rotate. So if your ears face backwards and your lobes are on the back and your back part's in the front and your hole's up your ass, well, you'll know where to find it.
Once again, let's...
Folks, the open ear design, the multi-angular hook, lightweight, flexible construction there, the multi-point connectivity that connects to multiple devices and switch seamlessly between one to the other. So you can be AC one moment, a DC the next moment, and you don't know what you're getting from both ends. And 36 hours of battery life with 8 hours of playtime with the charging case. You might charge them maybe once a week, and then you're ready to go, unless you're just up on some kind of methamphetamine bender. And folks, again, we can save you some money.
Yes.
So you can buy more meth. You can
no. So you could do legal things, not that. Why would that be, again, We're here to save people money with Raycon.
Well, you can get 15% more meth because right now...
No meth. Meth meaning method, the method of listening to music in your ears, that kind of meth.
No moss on the meth. But the essential open earbuds are here to help you go for the gold, if not the meth or the moss. Because if you go to buyraycon.com right now, that's BUYRAYCON.com/JCE Open. That's the code JCE Open. You're going to get 15% off these essential open earbuds so you can listen to everything you want to listen to, hear everything you need to, and you'll have 15% of what you would have spent on these to spend on other things like booze, drugs, or hookers.
Books,
it's up to you.
Periodicals and food for your family, ladies and gentlemen.
Charitable contributions and food for your family.
Once again, great sounds. Raycon, a great sound, a great
So right
earbud.
there, you're gonna get 15% off Little Johnny's apple pie and 15% off your next 8-ball.
Jim, right you now, hear that? We're going to get away from the pool table, and we're going to get back.
Raycon.
We're going to get back away from
get back to where you once belonged. JoJo was a man who wanted some earbuds, but he had backward ears. JoJo went to buyraycon.com, and he got those earbuds for years. Get back to buyraycon.com/JCE Open. 15% off. Billy Preston spinning around in his grave.
Hey, what is that supposed to mean? The hell's that supposed to mean?
Because he heard what we were doing.
You know, we're friends. You're supposed to be nice. But once again, buyraycon.com/JCE. You can listen to whatever fine music you enjoy. We love them. I got mine here. My kids haven't stolen them yet. Get yours today. Buyraycon.com.
And stay away from Brian's thieving children.
/JCE. Jim, before we wrap up everything with the Royal Rumble, I can't imagine you would have watched it because it doesn't seem like you were really too interested in watching anything past what you absolutely had to.
No, I got out. I got out at the end. I heard there was a big display afterwards, but I got out at the end of the Royal Rumble match.
You know, I grew up in New York seeing the 4th of July, Thanksgiving, the 4th of July fireworks spectacular each and every year. They air it on TV. It looks great. You have Thunder over Louisville most years.
Thunder over Louisville, the biggest ongoing annual yearly fireworks exhibition in the United States. Thunder over Louisville.
Well, what if you combine those two things and you lit up the Saudi Arabia night sky for about 10 minutes straight, no exaggeration. After the final match, they had a fireworks show. It wasn't like there was a field with like the Gucci family running the fireworks or whatever. They were shooting them off the tops of the buildings. Like it was all over the entire city. And then they had drones up with the WWE logo or the belt. And you could barely see the drones because there's massive fireworks going off everywhere.
Are putting off too much light to be able to reflect the drone, yeah.
What we know is, because as commentators said it, it's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. in Saudi Arabia. And there's a 10-minute fireworks show, not from one centralized location. It's getting shot off the rooftops of every building in town.
Well, besides that, they said that they had the stadiums were filled in the city of Riyadh. They had 4 stadiums. They all had soccer games, but they obviously weren't still going till 2 o'clock in the morning. And you would think that most other activities, is Riyadh like New York, the city that never sleeps? A lot of people. How many people are in Riyadh? Can you Google that real quick? What's the population of Riyadh?
Let me look it up.
That suddenly at 2 o'clock in the morning, people all over this city are hearing these explosions. That can't be a comforting thing in that part of the world or any part of the world, to be woken up in a major city with explosions in the air at 2 a.m. and what the fuck is going on?
And by the way, is that just for wrestling? Yeah, is that just for wrestling or is that for all these big events they're doing for the nonstop Riyadh season?
Well, but they didn't all end at the same time as the Royal Rumble did. It would have been physically impossible for them to.
That's what I'm saying. Did WWE get it for this night, but like every other night when there's like an event, like, all right, the comedy spectacular is over. Let's light up the sky.
Fireworks.
What? I got an answer to your question. The population of Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, is approximately 7 to 8.6 million
Jesus
as of 2024.
Christ.
Representing massive growth from roughly 500,000 in 1972.
That massive growth is an understatement. 500,000 50 years ago to almost 8 million today is what they're saying.
That's right.
Boy, they
built a city in the middle of nowhere.
Well, besides that, they must be injecting rabbit genes in these fucking people. But okay, so where is New York? What is the population of New York? It's I remember the number 8 or 10 million being thrown around a few years ago.
New York City is 8.4 million.
Riyadh's about to catch New York? Good heavens. And what would happen if suddenly at 2:00 in the morning in New York City, even though many people still are awake in New York, if suddenly the world's largest fireworks display just went off?
If it was a one-time thing, it would be nonstop complaints and it would be an issue. If they thought it may happen again, it would unite New Yorkers like nothing else ever before to stop whatever force was doing 10-minute fireworks shows at 2 in the morning off every building. Everything was just shooting off fireworks from every direction. And then there's drones everywhere. To advertise WrestleMania, the waterless WrestleMania next year coming to Saudi Arabia.
8 million people are not going to sleep all night because the WWE's back in town. Whew.
How many people woke up thinking like, we've gone to war. We're at war right now.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, in today's world, I don't know anywhere where at just 2:00 in the morning, if this would start going off over any major city in the world, that some people wouldn't go, oh shit, what the fuck? And they look out the window and they see lights and fucking whatever. What the hell's going on?
It was stunning to watch live because you keep thinking, okay, that's the end. All right, that wasn't the end. This is the end. That's not, it was like a modern match. Like it was something that could have been done in a minute. And it went for 10 minutes.
They do that at Thunder over Louisville, too. They have the false finish. And, of course, there's a musical track also. But they're shooting it all off of the bridge and barges in the river that's not over the goddamn city proper. And it's advertised for weeks on end. Everybody in town knows this is going to happen. And it's 9:30 at fucking night, right when it gets dark. I can't imagine the level of, and we don't have no skyscrapers in Louisville to speak of that they shoot things off the top of anyway. So is the level of this had to be jarring to some people.
I'm so thirsty. If I could only have a drink. What's that? Boom, 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 boom.
Some good refreshing soot and ash can fall on me from the skies as I search for water.
But think about that. The fact that Riyadh, the capital, and again, everything there is run by a family. It's a kingdom. The classic old biblical style. It's a kingdom. It's on every rooftop. You know, it would be difficult for New York City to do that because you'd have to get every building owner on your side. You'd have to incentivize them, whatever it may be.
And permits. And again, I know that there was no incidents with the stadium that they built in a month. But God, between the lack of facilities and or just the codes, the building codes have to be a lot different. Safety codes I'm talking about to ensure that the public is not, at risk of somehow, oh, we just put this thing up for 25,000 people in 30 days and we'll take it down. There's got to be a whole different level of approval you have to go through over there when you know the right people than in any other civilized country.
I wish you would have seen it. It was hysterical because it was so excessive and like there was no end in sight. I was like, maybe they're not doing a post show. Maybe they're just going to do this forever. Maybe it's never going to end. But that was it. That was the Royal Rumble.
Speaking of things that are never going to end.
That was the 2026 Royal Rumble. And with that, Jim, we shall return after this short commercial timeout.